Hey guys, my name is Clay. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to play another audio question that I got here, and it's to do with kind of masculinity. It's not something I've really talked about on this channel very much, but sometimes it's interesting to get these questions, so let's have a listen.
Hey, Clay. This is Scott. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate the content you've shared, especially about INFJs. I just recently discovered that's probably what I am, and I've been really digging into it, and I found your channel and then many of your videos that go beyond personality type I've really been enjoying. And as I'm listening to you talk, and especially when you mention things about how you felt in the past more like you'd be perceived more as the female in the relationship. Like, I can totally relate to that. And I guess I've just been trying to figure out a healthy way to be masculine and how to transition to embracing more of my masculine side. So anyway, hope you're well. Take care. Bye.
All right, thanks for that question. Glad you're getting something out of all my rambling here on YouTube. Yeah, it's kind of interesting what you said there about how you're often perceived as the female in the relationship. So I think I said that a while ago. I did a bunch of videos on relationships, and it was kind of my own observation that, like, when I read articles or books, oftentimes when they separate the gender roles, the various disagreements or things like that, I often more relate to the female or the woman in these perspectives. So I went through a breakup a few years ago, and I remember a friend saying this exact thing to me. I was trying to explain some of the problems in the relationship and so the struggles, and he kind of looked at me and he kind of had this puzzled look on his face, and he said, "You almost seem like the female in the relationship." And now that I think about that, he's an INTJ married to an ENFJ. So of course I'm going to relate more to the ENFJ woman than to the INTJ. And I think INFJs, ENFJs, maybe any of the NF personalities kind of demand a level of emotional closeness in a relationship. A lot of the NTs are often happy with less emotional closeness. So possibly that explains why in his situation, I was more like his wife than I was like him. And literally, he's probably sitting there listening to me complain about things that his wife likely also complains about. So it's kind of funny. But, apart from that, society in general really likes to assign, what a man's supposed to be like and what a woman is supposed to be like. And what I find really interesting about this is, even if you take people that are the same personality, like an INTJ. So, in the past, I had all these INTJ men around me, and I kind of formed this conclusion of what INTJs were like. And it wasn't until recently where I've discovered there are 2 INTJ women in my life as well. And I've realized that they really do express themselves differently than the men. And I really chalk it up to this one thing. Men are given permission, or even encouraged in our culture, to remain emotionally guarded. Don't express your emotions, don't cry. Big boys don't cry. You're supposed to be tough, and you're supposed to be courageous, and being sensitive and emotional is definitely not something that society encourages you to do. But on the other side, women are encouraged to do these things. They're encouraged to express their emotions. They're encouraged to be, more sensitive and caring, and they're supposed to take care of people according to culture, and they're supposed to be more motherly, right? It's almost like a little girl is born, and their parents they probably can't even help it. They're just like raising this little girl into being a mother, right? And giving her and nurturing those qualities in her. And meanwhile, they got a boy, and it's probably not even something they're consciously doing, but they're reinforcing the cultural stereotype of what a man is. And so this whole topic, I haven't really talked about it much. I know that probably most people won't really like what I have to say about it. You can listen to all these guys on Twitter and YouTube, and they're like trying to reinforce what a man is supposed to be. And, you got to take back your masculinity and, what is a man? And to be honest, I just disagree with almost all of these types of people. I think it is complete bullshit, if you want me to be honest. I honestly think that almost the majority of what we think a man is and what a woman is completely made up, completely manufactured. It is reinforced by cultural norms. It is beat into people as they grow up. And yes, men are a certain way and women are a certain way. But how much of that is due to cultural programming and how much of it is due to just the innate manness of a man? Let's just look at animals for a moment. Let's say you see a herd of cats. Can you easily and quickly decide which is a male cat, which is a female cat, without, looking underneath at the goods? The reality is no, you can't. If you're trained and you know what to look for, yes, okay, you can start to pick out the differences. Maybe the males are a little bigger and the females are smaller. Maybe you get different colorings. You look at something like pheasants and stuff, and the males and females look different. But you look at something like chimpanzees, and from a distance, you're probably not easily telling which are the females and which are the males. I'm no expert on chimpanzees. If you are, then I'm sure you're going to have an opinion that yes, you can pick it out from a distance. And yes, you probably are right. You can, if you know what you're talking about. But, with human beings, if you see a pack of men and a pack of women, it is quite easy to identify which is which. There's a lot of signaling that goes on that says, I'm a man, I'm a woman. Women will generally have longer hair. They wear makeup, all the clothing. And then it comes even beyond physical appearance. It's how are they expected to behave and things like assertiveness. And women are just trained from a young age to be less assertive, more subservient. Are women innately more subservient? That's probably where people will disagree. I would say no. I think if you were raised to be taught that a good woman is a certain way, then you probably will be more like that. But don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that everything is learned. I actually just don't know. I mean, how much, like I said before, how much of what is a man is learned and how much is like sort of born. When I look at my son and my daughter, I do notice differences. I notice in my son just like a higher level of energy and aggression almost, and just the games he wants to play. He's rougher. He wants to play fight more. Even with his stuffed animals, like he'll make them like attack each other and stuff. Whereas my daughter doesn't do that. I realize that's very anecdotal evidence. But I think one thing with my son that I'm really trying to reinforce is it's okay to express your emotions. I mean, it's pretty hard to have me as a parent, to be honest, and not get a little bit of that because, I am constantly trying to ask them about how they are, ask them about how they're feeling. I never try to, shame them for expressing emotion. Even if it's a tantrum, I have very specific ways that I will deal with that doesn't shame the expression of emotion. Obviously, I try to correct bad behavior, but I think a lot of people shame the emotional expression. That is really something I try to stay away from. Anyway, all this talk to come back to this question, what does it mean to have appropriate levels of masculinity? I think depending on who you ask, you will get different answers to this. If you ask somebody who's a Christian, they're going to have very specific ideas because they look in the Bible and they just read what it says about men and women. Here's the differences. Islam will have slightly different, but also very restrictive views on men and women. And if you're a type of person like me that wants to look at things logically without all this taint of religious expectations, religious rules, cultural norms, to be honest, I have a feeling that there's a lot less differences between men and women than we want to admit. I think there are differences, though, so don't get me wrong. Don't misquote me on that. I just don't really know what they are, to be honest. I don't really think anybody knows what they are. I think a lot of men's fears come from this place of, oh no, what if I'm gay? Oh, what if people think I'm gay? So I'm going to be a big, tough man. I'm not going to be emotionally vulnerable. I think men, a lot of times, the reason why there's this toxic masculinity is that men are let off the hook. They're allowed to get away with not being emotionally vulnerable in their relationships. And it's almost like a type of gaslighting for women in a way. Here's a woman in a relationship. She's trying to have this relationship, and she's sort of demanding a level of emotional vulnerability, emotional intimacy that should be a human trait, and yet men will use their unwillingness. They'll use masculinity as the reason, and I think that actually is incorrect. I think with practice, men can be emotionally vulnerable. They can be aware of their feelings. And, I think there's a lot of women that are very emotionally unavailable. I mean, this is the whole other flip side of it. Women just get all this credit all the time for being, the sensitive ones. But I know plenty of women who aren't like that. I know plenty of women who aren't emotionally vulnerable, who don't really seek emotional intimacy in their relationships. And they also need to work on that. And that's almost why I feel like it's more of a personality thing than it is a male and female thing a lot of the time. A lot of the ENFP men, for example, are very emotionally expressive, and they express themselves in very certain ways, and they're probably not going to really fit in with the classic definition of what a man should be, right? The Guardians, which make up 40% of the population, and it's 4 personalities. These are the SJ personalities. These people are very traditional. They are upholding the bureaucracy. I have a whole video actually on, INFJs in a Guardian world. And I think a lot of the struggles for the NFs come from living in this Guardian world. And, they're the ones that are deciding all these things, like what is a man? It's all this tradition-based stuff. And at the end of the day, I've just kind of forgotten about it. I don't care. Don't tell me the way I should be is really my attitude towards almost everything. But because I'm a man, I'm supposed to act a certain way. Forget it. I'll act how I feel authentic to act. I will express myself in ways that feel authentic to me. And this is really what I'm trying to do. So, if you're asking the question, how can I reconnect with my masculine side? I would just forget about the question, to be honest. Try to find that authentic self and do that. If there's people out there that don't appreciate the fact that you're not masculine enough, AKA you're not tough enough and emotionally unavailable or whatever this cultural definition of masculinity means, well then fine. Don't hang out with those people. That's what I would say. And find the people that you click with. It's not easy though, because it's a challenge for me to find friends. The biggest problem I have is it takes a very specific man to really have a deep friendship I find. It has to be, I just did my last video, 6 things an INFJ needs in a friendship. So I have to find a friend that sort of ticks those boxes. A lot of men can't do that. So that sucks. But some men can, right? On the flip side, women, a lot of them can't do that, but a lot of them can. But then, there's other cultural norms. Can I be friends with a woman who's married, according to culture, and make that work? Culture kind of is suspicious of that situation, right? And it's almost like a culturally acceptable form of jealousy for men in that situation to, make that into a big deal, get upset, and shut down that interaction. It goes both ways, by the way. If men have, friendships with women, women will shut that down. But, there's a lot of cultural stuff going on here. Culturally acceptable forms of jealousy. It's a big topic. I guess my point is that being friends with men for me is hard, and being friends with many women is hard as well. There's very specific people I've noticed that I can be friends with and I have relationships with. And so the trick is to find those people and to not really kind of settle for a bunch of garbage friendships with people that kind of make you feel bad. Anyway, I hope that wasn't too embellished. Hopefully that got to the point for you. Thanks for asking that question. Anyway, guys, I hope you have a great day. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. All right, thanks. See ya.